Welcome to More Than Mindset, the only podcast that bridges the gap between spirituality and success. Go beyond the mind with clarity and confidence coach Kim Guillory and learn how to integrate your passion to serve with your skills and experience to create a business you love. Let's get started.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. So we have something a little different today. Malerie and Lynda are going to ask me questions about 2021. We're just going to do a little mini review of lessons and takeaways and what was expected and what actually happened. And so I've set myself up for the hot seat. Hope you enjoy. Take it away, Malerie. Lynda?
Okay, so I have a couple of questions, and I can say that I have been with you throughout this whole year. So I've kind of been involved in some of these things, but I'm still interested to hear what your total review was. So first of all, what was your word of the year that you chose at the beginning of 2021?
Embodiment. It was about embodying my true essence or my soul essence, or like embodying more of myself, more confidence in myself, maybe getting to really know what I like and wanted, which is, I know that's weird to say, but there is a big part of me that has just always been the server and the pleaser and the provider, personally, especially in business. And I wanted to kind of let that unseen aspect of myself that I was denying.
So do you find that you have played that out?
So it was really weird because I kind of had forgotten what my word was, which this often happens the years in past also. And the way the year or the way it's ending right now, because you guys have seen there's a lot of shifting happening. I was a bit surprised by, I think this is what it is. So I'm a bit surprised by how it turned out. Yeah, something happened a couple of weeks ago. So it was almost like at the final hour. And there was a release of something that I wasn't even aware that I possessed before. Like I wasn't even aware that it was a part of me until it was gone from me. And when that happened, I slipped into a deeper awareness, a deeper state of, the word I want to use is meta. It's like I'm in a different space. And it's more like a meta space. It's like a really deep resting or nestling, or so I'm assuming that it's a deeper version of embodying an aspect of myself that I had unconsciously been avoiding or denying before, or I didn't know how to be that.
I can say that I agree without knowing all of the details or how deep this was for you, because it was mostly for you, but I can sense that shift in you. Lynda, do you want to
Can I ask, what does that look like? And Lynda, did you notice that? Because let me just explain to the audience. Malerie is my assistant and Lynda is my in-person massage therapist and relationship coach here at the business. So I have been with them a lot this year.
I haven't known you before just recently, like before that shift just happened. I haven't known you to want to take time off to not work and say, okay, I'm just going to go find something enjoyable to do. Like, haven't known you to do that in the 2-ish years. And that's happened a couple of times recently, which is good. Because usually you're just like on it all the time. And I'm like, okay, I can like thinking that I cannot keep up because you're always on. Like you always have ideas flowing through you and you're always ready to work and you're always ready to create something. And not saying that that's not what it was, but you were like, okay, let's take a break. Let's just kind of sit here and let it marinate, I guess. That's something that I noticed recently. What would you say, Lynda?
I definitely agree with all of that. And it's always been you can never not find Kim on social media. She's someplace, one of the million places that you can find her. And she's always go, go, go. There's always something out there to catch. And it's almost been like work has been your everything and your driving factor, almost to the point of where I can't catch you all the time. Even though I want to be everywhere you are, I can't catch you everywhere. So it's kind of been nice to see you be more focused in, or transform into this place of being more focused in smaller bite-sized pieces in shorter periods of time to catch you. I feel like it's a lot more fulfilling. It comes across as a lot more fulfilling and purposeful now that you've gotten to that place. I've seen you come back in a more intentional way. It feels a lot cleaner to see you in a more focused manner.
The word that came up with me when you just said to see you not, the word that came up for me was driven. Not so driven, as if there's a thing to attain or a thing to become or some, I wasn't even sure what it was, but there were drive. It's like whatever the shift was, I've always had an insurmountable amount of energy. I used to say, I wish I could package this and sell this belief and this energy and this drive and this passion. Like, I wish everybody would attain it so I would have more play friends, right? So it's like, so we could all do it. And then there was a moment where I realized, and this may be a 6'2" off the roof thing for those who are into human design. Like, I am questioning this because I'm at Chiron's return. I'm 53 and a half. And it's been a lot of shifting that I had no idea. You know how I say I'm willing to be surprised with what's beyond the mind that I have yet to imagine? It's like that. And all of a sudden, if I was incorrect, that passion and drive and energy that is available all the time was not. It was like, whoa. And I was having to go find it. Like, I was having to will it up. And typically I sit right here, I open this mic and it just comes. I show up on a call, someone asks a question and it just comes. And the end of this year has not been that way. And so if I am not mindful and I'm not choosing correctly and I'm not in alignment, it is not available. And so it kind of was forced. Does that relate to what you guys are sensing and seeing? Because I'm still reflecting on it.
Yeah. You're a lot calmer now. Your energy is just a lot more. I'm not going to say it's taken down a notch. It's still super powerful energy, but you are a lot calmer. Even the way that you coach and things in Self-Healing Masters, it's a lot calmer. It's a lot more focused. Okay. So what did you think this year was going to look like at the beginning of 2021?
Not at all the way I thought it would start and end. I was on a personal agenda, this soul-driven vision, this organization. We were like changing everything. We came up with our 3 portals and had it all planned out. We had like those who were going to help and those who were going to be a part. Like, everything was just like this plan, right? And the way that it ended compared to what I thought couldn't be more different. It just couldn't be more different. It ended with a lot of deep felt conversations. It ended with a lot of transparency and a lot of humility. I had to have conversations where I felt shame and embarrassment and like noticed my lack of awareness, that I had not been in that flow that usually carries me through, where that energy does come from, that I actually had gotten into the mind. And the vision that came forward, I was trying to produce it with effort. I was trying to do it with people and myself. And the conversations looked like, those little chickens they throw at Mardi Gras, those little toy chickens. I was like choking these chickens. Like, I was choking the people that I love the most, like trying to like, no, we got to do this and we got to make, and this is what it's going to look like. And this is how we're going to do. And I had to like loosen the grip. It came from a clean space of really wanting it to happen and really seeing this vision for generations to come. And, it had so much like beautiful stuff behind it. But then the holding on and the trying to make it happen felt like trying to keep the marbles in the circle. And I didn't have the energy for it anymore. And I realized that it felt like, I'm not sure about this and you guys might be able to answer it, but it felt like I was holding people back in order to create this. And it reminds me of when my daughter was here as a hairdresser working at the business. And we were no longer compatible because like she had kids and a husband who worked away and she needed to do things a certain way. But yet this business had its own rules, right? Its own boundaries. And she didn't fit in those boundaries. And it got to be like, wait, you have to do it this way. This is the only way to be successful. This is how we keep it going, right? And then there was a moment of actually, she's her own person in her own business and she needs to do it her own way. And so it was like a kicking out of the nest kind of thing, which felt terrible and scary. And that's what it felt like when I had to contact all of these people and say, the energy that we created these contracts through has changed. And I am sensing this opportunity for like this marketplace, we would say, if we were building a mall where it's actually not physical. It's just energetic and it's just supportive. And it's this individual freedom without control, without manipulation, without needing someone to do a certain way or be a certain way. It's actually this, I not wonder about Facebook, this whole meta space thing, if that's kind of what's happening, it's like this, actually it's built on integrity and loyalty and commitment of individuality. It just feels so different because you guys knew this organization we were building, this plan that we had, this marketplace, this mall. We couldn't get through the contracts. Like we couldn't figure out the money part and the control part and who's going to be in charge and who's going to pay the marketing and who's going to pay for the ads and it was so tangled, and Emily was like, came up with all of the documentation for it and stuff. And then it just did, there was no embodiment of it. So I hope this makes sense to the audience, but for those of you who are in business, who are trying to create an organization or an entity or, something that has a life of its own, this is what I'm talking about. And that stifled this flow of energy that used to freely come through me because I was suddenly trying to control it like you would a spouse or a child that you love so dearly and you want the end game and you don't recognize that your fear or your scarcity or your anxiety and stress and worry of trying to protect and prevent is actually stopping the relationship from evolving. Long answer. I hope that made sense. So it ended with individual freedom for myself and everyone I love, including you too.
I don't think I noticed so much the before because we had so many close and intimate conversations about this is what the vision is, this is what we're going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do. But once it shifted, I was going to say it feels so much more freeing than whatever it was I was feeling before. What would you say, Lynda?
I feel like in my instance that the connection and the business agreement, there was already a different kind of setup for that just because of the nature of my coaching and my business. So I already felt like I had that. And I think that's one of the things that came up that was a little bit of a realization, and maybe you can add on to this, was that there is the difference in how we had our agreement and how I'm brought into the quote unquote container that was being created, which kind of gave the contrast of, okay, this is kind of what I'm trying to achieve, but I'm not seeing how it's possible with these other dynamics. Do you want to add on to that, Kim?
I think I hear what you're saying. The nature of you and I's agreement was different than the nature of, we'll say, like the team's agreement or how that was going to look. And it's almost like the bridges or something like yours felt way cleaner. And so I think that contrast did help in the awareness and the awakening of it is when I started this is what I noticed. Asking the question, does this generate satisfaction? And with you, it did. Because you come and go as you please. There's a super clean agreement, right? There's never any controversy. We don't ever have to review things. Whereas when I was trying to create this thing and I couldn't understand how to create it, it was not generating satisfaction. It was generating protection and prevention. Like, let's protect it and let's keep and let's like prevent it from falling apart. And so it was like trying to hold it together and control energy. And I knew that's not who I was. And that's not what I stand for. You guys know it's all about individuality. It's all about the Skittles. And yet suddenly I'm in the brown M&Ms and it's like, no, but this is it. And this is how, and this is the vision. And this is how we do it. Right. And so I recognize it in myself. And I think you guys can share that. No one came up to me and said, hey, you're doing that. No one called me out at all. I started to recognize it and then I started to question it and then it started to unravel. And then I was like, I have to have these conversations. And I wept. It felt like an exorcism leaving my body, the people pleasing energy of the convincing and the holding on and that codependent nature that I didn't even know wasn't me. I swear I didn't know it wasn't me. It was the conditioning that was within me. In order to be accepted, in order to be valued, in order to be worthy, I have to do these things. I have to be this part in their lives. I have to help them do this stuff because I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy enough to just be in their life or be their friend or just be on. Like I had to be giving or serving or over giving or over to prove, to convince, to show, right? And when it was ripped out of me, and it feels like it was physically ripped out of me, like pulled. And once it was gone and I had it, you guys know, we've done like some really deep energy work where you feel like you've had energetic surgery. I could feel it. I could feel the frayed edges. Like I could feel it. It wasn't clean. It wasn't like surgically precision because the word kept coming up, precision. There was no precision about this. And that's why I'm thinking about the 6'2" off the roof, because I was holding on. I was clutching. I was like, well, who the fuck am I going to be without this? Like, then what? What happens if I'm not people pleasing, if I'm not giving in, if I'm not controlling, if I'm not like holding on? Well, I have nothing else. Just like Lynda said, I had nothing else outside of business. I have nothing else. Is what kept coming up. And so it was like this holding on and this pulling away and this tugging. And I know this sounds crazy to some of you who are listening, but it was like, I was able to describe this in words. You remember, like I heard a voice come through my head on the travels and I was like, oh my God, what is this? What is happening to me? And I couldn't listen to podcasts or books or like anything, nothing to distract my time. I was taking into the abyss, into the darkness, driving this solo trip for 12 hours. And it was just happening through me. And I just wept and I let it move and I put the windows down and I let it flow. And I was just with myself.
Very interesting to hear you talk about it like that.
I was all that was left. Without it, it was really weird.
Being that was, a couple of weeks ago, is there some new awareness or acceptance or appreciation of yourself or we always talk about things that hold us back or like a worthiness issue. Do you feel like something like that has shifted as a part of this process?
It's like, I am that I am. I am because I am. And I'm saying it's very meta. And it's like, I don't have an interest to be hanging out on social media. I'm only posting in the More Than Mindset group or with like our inside of our containers or with my private clients. And after tomorrow, like I'm going to be off until next year. I've never done that. And I know I'm coming back part-time and I'm going to be in those containers only and with one-on-ones, which that's something I haven't done, but I have been called back to is really wanting to do the deeper dive work, the mentoring and the more that solo journeying back to self with individuals. So I sense all of that changing. Surprisingly, my year really showed the call to relationships, to healing in relationships. That's been super prominent. Like as much as I love business, I now realize that the business path is the healing of the relationships with ourselves, with our partners, with the way that we understand life compared to how it could be understood, that life can actually flow through us way easier. Is that answering your question?
Answering my question. So what do you think you'll do differently next year?
Oh my gosh, it feels free and I will only respond. I have no plan and no intention to instigate or to put out and go and do like at all. I mean, it is just like not in me. I think that's what you guys are feeling. Whereas before my mind, it's endless ideas. I mean, my mind is so creative. I can look at a group of people and just give each one of them a business idea. It's fascinating how easy that comes. But there was a misunderstanding that because I had a thought, because I had an idea, that I thought I had to put it into action, or I was putting into action. I mean, every week and sometimes every day I was coming up, Lynda, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And like I'm doing yoga in the mornings and I'm like, I'm asking Amy, I was like, I have a great idea. What if everyone just comes to do yoga? What if we just open the doors? And then I was like, could you ask me if I want to do that? And she was like, do you want to do yoga for the public? And my sacral would do, It was like, it would just close off and it would do no. And I was like, wow. I mean, my mind has all these creative ideas, this just brilliant art that it comes up with. And my body is like, And I was listening to my mind. I didn't realize that I was a hostage of my mind for so long. So even though there was a lot of energy and drive and passion and fun behind it, I could just have fun with that. I don't actually have to do it. That feels like a repeat of lessons over and over and over of the last 8 years. Because I kept saying, what if? Like, what if I just do what's fun and playful while I'm waiting for the vision to arrive, instead of taking the steps to make the vision come, to manifest the vision, to materialize the vision? I kept asking that. Lynda, I'm sure you've heard, I know I've asked you that, Malerie. I was like, who do you want to be while you're waiting? Because it's happening in the quantum field, but we live on linear time. There's a gap in between the two. Who do we want to be while we're waiting? It's just because we have an indication or an idea, or our mind is shooting out these fun sparks. Who do we want to be now while we're waiting on whatever the surprise is going to be? Because whenever we attach to it, like I had attached to the vision and the organization and the way I thought it was going to look, I actually missed out on all the creativities and the extras that were beyond the mind. And so I was able to see that.
I'd love to add on to this in regards to, it takes me back to like the retreats. I remember at the beginning of the year when you're planning out the multiple different retreats that you're going to have throughout the year and what those were going to look like. And then we show up and arrive at that first retreat, and there was almost like this realization, okay, this is not where I want to be doing things anymore. This is not how I want to be doing things anymore. It was in that process of trying to do all the things, be all the things, be all the places, as you were kind of describing your thoughts and ideas, feeling as though you had to be the one to carry them out. I kind of feel like that's how retreat kind of unraveled things for you as well.
Definitely. I mean, 3 retreats ago, I was like, this is it. We're probably not coming back here. 2 more times, habit, behavior, and neurology. 2 more times followed the theme. And the last one, I was like, no, this really is it. I mean, I had taken a beating at that one. That really shifted a lot of things in October. And this was the part I felt and sensed that coming. So I will say that was the urgency to create the helpers and the other roles, because I was sensing that 3-4 years ago, that I'm not going to be the only one leading this anymore. But I took that idea, that thought, and I tried to go create the placeholders, the people that, like, I tried to make it happen. And then I was holding on to it like the chicken, like I was really squeezing because I had gotten attached. That's the exact realization. I love that you brought that up, that I came to. And Danielle and I talked about it afterwards too. And it was like, this is it. We can't do a retreat like this anymore. This is not working. Like I keep saying it. And Lynda, you were standing right here when I booked it. And you remember it wouldn't go through, and I kept trying to force it. And I was like, I have tried booking this house like 4 times. I can't go. The one in Gulf Shores is not available. I can't find a place. And I mean, willpowered through it. I just kept going. I was that commitment and that drive and that I need to serve people. I need to make sure, because been doing quarterly retreats. I've been doing retreats over a decade. So it was like a part of my identity. And I booked that house and the Anna Maria house the same day you were standing right here. I was like, I got it. I got the retreat house in Gulf Shores. I found it through another website, and this house in Anna Maria. Come and look at it. Isn't it gorgeous? And I mean, we went through all this, and it was crazy expensive. And I booked it. And when I got to Gulf Shores and I realized, oh my God, I did this with my mind. This was not something that flowed to me naturally. This is habit, behavior, neurology, psychology that played part into this. I canceled that retreat in Anna Maria, because I said, I booked both houses under the same energy, the same day at the same time. I don't want to ever repeat this again. And it was hard for me to cancel that, because I was like, I'm just going to go myself. Like, I'm just going to go enjoy it. Right. And in my head, I just kept like, it's the same energy. Do you want to go into the same energy? Do you want to push it? Do you want to make it happen? Or do you want to wait for something else new and exciting, something else? Like, do you want to live the past, or do you want to be open to adventure in the future? And so I sent the email and canceled it. So I did do things differently.
I do remember standing in your office over your shoulder, and you're showing me the houses. And it was just I remember you saying that, well, I have to give them something. So it was definitely coming from an energy of, you were forcing it, trying to make it happen. And I do also remember after you hitting that book button, you said, did I make a mistake? Was this a mistake? You questioned yourself, and you're like, no, and then I guess kind of talked yourself into believing it was okay. There was a knowing for sure.
Which I think, I note this with my clients. It happens. that we make a decision, we say we're never going to do it again, and then we get that one more chance just to be sure. We do it one more time and we're like, oh, I knew it. And like I just had to say yes one more time so that I could never say yes again to that. So it feels like that. Like I'm a woman of extremes. I got the 15 in my profile 3 times. So there is a lot of extreme, and I only learn through experience. So I can't learn through someone else's teachings. I have to actually move through it and feel it and integrate it and then decide, which makes a very adventurous life, but it also creates a lot of chaos, conflict, and pain, and I've really had to come to love and understand myself, even with that. Like instead of judging myself or making it wrong about me because I change my mind or I make errors or I flop or I demand a lot of experience in order to attain, like I really had to let myself off the hook and embody my profile, embody my design, and embody what I've always been, even as a child. I became this very responsible adult, this business owner, this really, almost like this rigid commitment and accountable person. And, that is actually not me, which is crazy to say. And I feel that's why I'm feeling so humbled. I'm like, actually don't want to feel bad about being in the flow and flying by the seat of my pants, because that is when I'm healthy. And that's when I feel joyous. And that's when things come to me easily.
I think that's one of the cool things that I personally witnessed from you over this year was seeing you in like serious business mode at the beginning of the year and then kind of transform into like the coming and the going and the traveling and the like having fun in life again. So I'm curious, what is probably the most fun lesson between the business and the personal and the travel and the self-growth that you've experienced over this year?
The most fun. Gosh, it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot because I couldn't find it. Do you remember? Like, I didn't even know who to be. I couldn't take off because I had nothing to go to. So the most fun experience was probably when I would say being bad, like when I was being irresponsible, when I was like cutting loose and reading reviews from Amazon that like the things that made us like cry and titty in our pants and like those things where I was like bad, it was like just giggling and hurting and something I probably wouldn't do socially or publicly, but it was just like allowing laughter and fun to move through me. And I'm like, what the hell? Because the stuff that comes out of this body, this head, it's kind of crazy. So I would say those moments, you guys remember a few of those, just to be the ability to laugh at myself. And like, I was like such a responsible adult, taking it all serious, that kind of stuff. And I would say, I want to add this because I know we're about to hop off of here, that you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to offer it. What was my biggest takeaway lesson that really brought me to this awakening and embodiment? And it was, I'm not satisfied with my physical body, my health and my body, because I was holding back this potential and trying to be this perfected form according to what I thought the material world of the conditioning, like I had to be. And I actually like have extra weight and I feel like more inflammation, like I experienced COVID and the post-COVID stuff. And I don't feel vibrant. And that gets my attention. Those are my awakening moments. Coming from a past of 15 surgeries and 24 years of medication and chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue and fibromyalgia, and like to actually have a taste of that, some of that again, really shook me. That was the game changer at the end when I realized like something is off. There is dissatisfaction and force and control. And this is not the essence of who I am. This is not the embodiment of who I am. So I'd say, Lynda, when you asked the question about fun, that was not fun to move through that. Like it was very painful to rip out all the parts that were not me in order to embody the parts that are. So we're coming to an end. I'm going to take control. Thought Malerie would ask me this, but she's not. So I'll just move on for it. We're doing a 2021 year-in review workshop in January when I come back from break. So if anyone is interested, check your emails. If you're not on the email list yet, how do they get on the email list? Come to the More Than Mindset group or something, right? and you can sign up for that. It's at least 2 hours, but I don't have anything booked after. So it'll be kind of just open. So, but for at least 2 hours, we're going to be reviewing. I'll show you how I review and assess and tatter. These are some of my secret ingredients. And then we'll talk about how to move forward in 2022 and really dial in on becoming what you want, not necessarily through strategy and structure as much as flow and ease. And so that's something that's going to be coming up the 4th. I think it's January 4th. Yeah, right around 2 weeks to do it. And if not, I want to invite you to the More Than Mindset Facebook group, Self-Healing Masters. That's where you'll find me. I likely won't be online so much after the new year. I don't plan to be unless something changes. But this will be a great opportunity for you to come in, hang out, review all of the things that you've been through and experienced this year, what you thought it was going to be, what it actually ended up being, and how we habitually continue to recreate the same stinking patterns. And we say we don't want it, but yet we keep living it. So as a role model, 6'2", off the roof, I can actually show you how to stop doing that and do something different. And so that's what I want to invite you to. And if you like this podcast or love this podcast, please share it with your friends and put it on social media, send it in their email, let them know that there's some work out there, some help out there, in order to do things differently. I'd love for you to share that with others.
Well, I don't know about you, Lynda, but I'm looking forward to reviewing my year and to learning how to do things differently, because I'm the one I was ready to buy my planners and get everything marked down. And this is what I'm going to do in this quarter and planning everything out for the next year. But I don't want to recreate the same thing that I did this year that didn't work. So I'm interested to hear what's going to be the new way, the Kim way, the way that feels so different and foreign to me. But I know I've been moving in that direction anyway. And I can see that the patterns and the habits in the past that created the things that I don't want to continue creating. So I'm interested to try something new and different.
Do you guys think just being around and watching someone do it different has created an impact in your life?
Yes,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Lynda.
Oh, I was just say, yeah, absolutely. It definitely does. Seeing you do it is like the inspiration to be able to do it differently. Because I'm much like Malerie. I'm the planner, the journaler, like my list, my task list. I have to have all that to be able to function in life. And sometimes that being so rigid steals the joy of living away. It's such a struggle at times of having to be obligated to your list and your plan and your calendar and not having the freedom to enjoy life anymore. So I'm definitely excited for this year interview on January 4th to go over that and see how I can implement something different for my 2022.
I'm curious for you guys watching, especially like Malerie, you being my full-time assistant, Lynda, you being in the business. Did you guys get kind of, when I kind of check out like that and kind of start moving through some stuff, like how are you experiencing it on the other side? Does like that flow that's so different? And then I'm supposed to be like the boss and the business owner. And yet I'm like, just curious. We have 2 minutes. If you want to what has that been like for you to be around someone? Because Malerie, like she's one of the hardest jobs in the world, like that she pulls off because it's so against her nature, the way that I move and flow and create. And I'm basically just like dropping crumbs all the time and saying, put that together and make a loaf of bread.
It's like my mind at the first reaction is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Trying to scramble. And then it's like, wait, okay, hold on, calm down. It's going to be okay. She's just figuring some stuff out. And then there's going to be a new vision, because for the longest time, you were the one holding the vision, like the big picture vision. For a long time, I couldn't create a vision for myself at all. And I was kind of just hanging on your vision that you painted that I agreed with. And then this was like your vision for your business. And I'm like, this is actually not my business. I'm very much in it, but it's actually not my business. So I'm trying to keep up the role that I play here, understanding that it's probably going to change. And my mind doesn't like change, but I know that whatever's going to happen, it's probably going to be better and more fun. And the freedom that has already shifted has been really interesting to feel. And so I'm just trusting that it's all going to work out. And I'm trusting you because of our history of openness and honesty and transparency. So I'm going to go with it.
I love that you use the word feel. Lynda, what you got? 1 minute.
So for me, it was really fun just because I'm always the type that I need to know what's going to happen next. So for me, this was just a new experience of learning how to be patient and wait for what's going to come next and be open to shifting with whatever comes.
So interesting. I can't see myself. So being able to hear you guys reflect it back. One of my friends said, I'm just living vicariously through your freedom because I have no idea how to do it for myself. And yet I wasn't able to see that I wasn't until I wasn't able to see it, right? Because some people are like, what are you talking about? You've been traveling and you go and you do and you try all kind of stuff. You're crazy. And I'm like, no, I feel really stifled and I felt really controlled and I felt really bound by this certain appearance and stuff. So no, it's actually not what was going on.
I think one more thing I want to throw out there is like the whole year was based around creating a community. And then that lesson at the end, and agree, let me know if I'm right with this, was that the community comes from individuality.
Mm-hmm. Just like healing humanity comes from wholeness within each individual. That's as a whole. Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. Free to be here also. There's no, like, we don't have to keep the marbles in the circle. We don't have to choke the chickens. Like, they get to be here if they want to be here and they get to leave and come and go. We're not bound by the building of the mall and the marketplace. Thank you all for doing this. And yeah, let's see where we're going from here.
Thanks for listening to this episode of More Than Mindset.